Yeah, I'm ready.
Welcome everyone. We are about to start. This is Digital for Africa. It's a conversation around data and analytics. We will allow people to join us and we will start within 1 or 2 minutes. We have some very interesting conversations around business strategy, the use of data in marketing and sales, and even the entire process of optimizing the customer experience and all that. So we'll be starting within a minute. I have a special guest who will be sharing his insights as a very experienced person in the area of digital strategy and customer experience and data analytics. So within a minute, we will be starting. Just a minute while I just look for the speaker to join us. So there we are. Mr. Brian Wamiori is together with us or together with me today. I'm seeing people have already joined on the different social media platforms. We are on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn. Look at Digital for Africa on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you will see a link to this webinar. My name is Francis Waidaka. I'm the team leader at Digital for Africa. Today, I'm excited to talk about one of the most important topics in business strategy. I'm very passionate about this topic because I have seen companies, small and large, growing and even doing a great job because of relying on data for decision making. But before we start, let me just make it clear in terms of the rules. We will have the guest speaker, Brian, who is already with us. He will share his insights within the next 15 minutes. And then after that, we will allow questions. I've seen a number of questions that have come. Brian will be answering the questions. So if you have questions, whether they are on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, whichever channel you prefer, just put down the questions for us and Brian will be available to answer them. So Brian, I want to take this opportunity to invite you. Who is Brian? Brian is a co-director and co-founder of Digital for Africa. Digital for Africa is a company that is based here in Nairobi, but with an African vision and strategy. We have been able to service companies in South Africa, Uganda, and Nigeria. And Brian will be taking us through the conversation around data and analytics and how businesses can unlock the value of the business from data analytics. So Brian is a person who I enjoy working with. In fact, a lot of people, I went with Brian at home and people were saying, is that your brother? I was telling them, that's not my brother, that's my co-director. We work together. We founded the company together, Digital for Africa, on 2014, October. So this is our 8th year and next year will be in our 9th year. So karibu sana, Brian. I will be here for a minute or for the time of your presentation and I'll come back when you finish. So go for it, Brian.
Asante sana, Francis. Happy to be here. I think one of the joys that we have as practitioners of technology is sharing the knowledge that we have. And I'm really, really happy to have this opportunity to share some of the knowledge that I have in the field of data analytics. And also, I know we'll discuss even much more in the future in other topics. So a little bit about me before we we dwell into the flesh of the content. As Francis has said, my name is Brian Wamiori. I am very excited about technology and what technology has to do for us in the future and now. There's even before I explain a little bit about myself, I remember once I watched a TED talk, and it was one of the, I think it was Jeff Bezos who was giving a story of the very first washing machine that ever existed. Apparently, 100 or so years ago, you wouldn't be able to connect appliances to the wall sockets as we do today. You would only connect appliances to the bulb. So you'd have to remove the bulb, connect an iron box, connect a washing machine, connect whatever it is that you want to connect, then now use that appliance. And in those days also, those appliances were very dangerous to use because they had naked wires and the like. Why am I telling you this? When we look at the internet today, the internet is about 30 or 40 years old. And when you look at electricity today, it's over 100 years old. And each day it keeps on adding new things to our lives. So if we are still at the infancy of the internet, if we are still at the infancy of exploring some of the things the internet has to offer, including data analytics in this case, what does the future hold for us in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years, and even in 100 years? And I believe any business that positions itself strategically in line with what the internet has to offer, taking advantage of tools, for example, in this case, data analytics tools, is a business that will even outlast the founders. Okay, back to a little bit about me. I've been serving companies ever since the late 2000s. 2008, 2009, there is when I started. Ever since, I've worked with multiple companies from very many industries. But some of the latest companies that I've served within the last year or so, one of them is Nivus. There's Nation Media Group in Adrian, Kenya. We've built websites for them. Some of them we've done some UX work or user experience work. But even the angle that we take whenever we're working with any of our clients, as much as we might be building a website, we're doing something very small. We look at we actually always have a strategic conversation. What's the strategy behind what it is that we want to do? Because people don't just want to build websites; they also want something that is a business tool, that is a business generating tool. We can connect on Twitter, on LinkedIn, even via email. If you search on LinkedIn, Brian Wamiori, for sure you'll find me. If you need to reach out, you can be able to reach out. Even on our website, there's a profile I have there under the team, and you can also read to just see what it is that I've done in the past, and hopefully also I'll be adding what I'm doing in the future on the same place. Some of the departments we work with, mostly IT, sales, marketing, operations, business development, and also data analytics very keenly. And in some cases also, data analytics and senior management are combined. So you'd find the senior managers or the owners to the business or the department heads are the ones who are very keen on what's happening inside the business, and they want to be able to analyze. And that's part of the conversation that we want to have today. So let's go for it. The bigger picture of data analytics, or rather data science, excuse me, what you're seeing on the screen right now is the entire jungle of what people call data science. And I know probably you've come to this webinar and asked yourself, are we learning all these things? Do we want to actually dive deeper and start talking about Python or start talking about cloud solutions? That's not the purpose. We want to leave you just with very simple, actionable insights that you can be able to take away. So this is important just for the bigger picture of understanding the tools which are used, the programming languages which are used, the technologies which are coming inside data science, such as machine learning and visualization. All that is important, but all that is not what we'll be looking into today. We want to simply understand how can analytics, data analytics in our businesses merge and give value to the business owners, to the people in those businesses, so that they can make more informed decisions. And that will be the focus for today. So I've actually titled or subtitled our webinar for today, the unwritten rules inside data analytics. And we'll start by looking at number one, some questions, the approach that I think is the best when talking about data analytics. And then number two, we'll also have a conversation on the tools. A lot of the times people overemphasize on the tool that they need to use. Do I need Power BI for me to be able to do some analysis? Do I need Tableau? Do I need what tool is, whatever tool is on your mind? We will actually now flip the question and ask ourselves, what do we need exactly from the tool, as opposed to we need a particular tool to be able to come up with some analytics. Then I'll also be emphasizing on making analytics a habit, as opposed to a one-time thing or a crisis meeting kind of thing. Where did we go wrong? Why did we not perform during this quarter? That's not the conversation we want to have. We always want to have analytics as a habitual kind of approach to our business, where every month or at least every quarter we are asking ourselves, what have we done in this quarter, and what do the numbers tell us? What does the data tell us, and how can we make better decisions moving forward? What are the lessons we can carry on from there? Then we'll also emphasize on the cleanliness of data, garbage in, garbage out. I believe everyone listening to me right now, it's not the first time you're hearing that. And there's a very valid reason on why most analysts or data analysts will really emphasize on the cleanliness of data. For sure, if you were to record customers who never bought from you and you do analysis based on that, you'll not be able to capture the true picture of what's happening inside your business. And vice versa is true also. If you were to not have the records, again, you will not really have a true picture of what's happening inside your business. And things might be happening and they could actually be very insightful or valuable to you. Then we'll finish with a simple audit and ask ourselves, yes, we've talked about all these things. So what? How do we actually implement whatever it is that we want to do in our business? What is the practical and easiest way we can start working with some of the things that we've just learned? So let's actually dive into it. And if you have a question, I believe you can record, and actually by the time I finish towards the end, we can engage further and ask each other questions as we move along. So first and foremost, number one, ask the questions before you do the analysis. What I've seen, by the way, which also closely touches on point number two, people rush to the tools very quickly. They ask themselves, which tool do I need for data analytics? And that's not the best approach to be able to ask you to start analyzing or thinking of your business from an analytical perspective. So ask yourself your questions. A question can be something like, how many customers have we sold to in this quarter, in this week, in this month, today? Another question could be something like, how many customers showed us interest, then they showed interest, but they did not convert, meaning we lost them. Can we actually be able to get that data? Where can we get that data? Once you start asking the questions, it becomes very easy to actually start thinking of, where can I find this data? Where can I find a place where I can be able to answer these questions? Where does what numbers, what insights do I need so that I'm able to know the answer to my question? When you take that approach, data analytics stops being this ambiguous thing that we imagine in most cases, and it starts being something very approachable and something very practical to do. So let's ask ourselves a couple of things. What do you want the data to tell you? That's the main thing. What exactly do you want the data to tell you? An example would be, how are my sales performing? You can compare that to a previous month, a previous quarter, previous year, and even have analytics or some data over time on the numbers over a very long time. In some cases, some companies have data for years and decades, and it helps them actually know the trajectory of the business. It's one of the things that we preach as data analysts or as practitioners of information technology is be data agnostic. Meaning, if you were to wake up one day and say you want to move to another tool, or you want even to sell your business, and an investor is asking, how does your business perform? Are your records actually really up to date or up to scratch to be able to answer that question? So it's always good to ask yourself some of these questions. Another question would be something like, what are the most popular products that we sell? Assuming you're in retail, you have in inventory 1,000 products, 2,000 products, 10,000 products. How would you be able to tell what is moving? A shop, for example, like Amazon or Jumia, or a shop that is selling every possible book, like a bookshop, for example. It's very hard. It's very, very hard to actually you can't actually track what's selling and what's not selling uh, via memory or just via manual records. You would need to be able to know something using a digital record. So these questions are very important to start asking yourself, even before you dive into any sort of tool, because the tool is just an enabler. The tool is just a facilitator to give you some information. But what you need first and foremost is to ask yourself the questions. So gather the questions. Whatever challenge you're going through in business, or um, whatever upside you are seeing in business, there are questions which are attached to that. So list down the questions one, then now you can actually ask yourself, where can I get the data? I know all of us, as you are seeing the image on the right, all of us want a kind of a scenario where sales is always going up, or the business performance in general is always going up. But the truth is that is not possible without really analyzing the numbers and asking yourself the questions that need to be asked. And even before we go into the second point, I thought it wise to just give you an example or two. Assuming you are a HR recruitment agency, even before we look at our numbers, what are some of the questions we would care for in terms of our business and in terms of our business performance? Excuse me. So a question would be something like, where do most of our customers come from? This is actually something we came across with one of the HR firms within the country that we serviced. We've serviced several of them. And one of them had this question. We actually prompted them and asked them, where do your customers come from? Because they had tasked us build a website. And we knew for a fact building a website without really doing some analysis, some data analysis on how the business works or how the business performs or where the customers come from in this case is not very the best way to approach it. So once we asked that question, they asked themselves, oh, by the way, we have never really asked ourselves that question. Where exactly do our business come from? And this was something now we were hearing from the founder, that most of our customers come from overseas. These are the bodies that recruit on behalf, some of the bodies that recruit on behalf of overseas company agencies, for example. So they are looking for some workers from Africa, maybe it's Dubai or it's Europe or whatever, and they want some people hired by a local agency. So once actually we asked ourselves that question, the next question was, where can we get this data? And we were able to get some of that data from their own records, like these are our clients over time, which was good. But one thing that we also noticed was the website traffic, where it was coming from. And to our surprise, we were able to capture all the key locations where they were getting business from. And it was a very big insight for their business, even in terms of sales at the end of the day. Another example would be, let's say we are a hotel in the Masai Mara, and we are asking ourselves, this is not even about sales. We just want to find out, where do tourists who visit Kenya come from? We can get this data probably from the Ministry of Tourism. Maybe Magical Kenya has such data. We can also probably get this data from just doing analysis on internet searches throughout the world, with respect now in this case to Kenya or the Masai Mara or the Big Five or something to do with that line of tourism. Once we have that data, we can now be able to, even let's say we are doing Google Ads for sure. If you were to do something as simple as Google Ads and target the entire world, you would be spending an arm and a leg every day. But if you were to very strategic and you only target the countries where most of the visitors actually come into Kenya, countries such as Italy, countries such as Spain, countries such as the UK or the US, for example, you now are more positioned, instead of now targeting Brazil, and we only get a few visitors from Brazil per year. It gives you an upper hand even in how you spend your money and also how you get a return on investment on that money. Then point number two, I think this is among the points that we need to underline or double underline for people to really understand. Don't obsess over the tools. By the way, when you in Nairobi, let's even take a moment away from the tools and just think about when you walk into many buildings in Nairobi, how do they collect data? They usually have a huge book. They ask for your ID number, they ask for your phone number, they ask for your name, and they ask for the office you're visiting. That's data. And they record it in the form of a manual record. Anything were to happen inside the building, they go back to that book and make a call. So they go back to that book and ask themselves, who walked in and when did they walk out? What happened between what time? That's a way of collecting data. There is no sophisticated tool which has been involved here. In also some businesses where you walk in, for example, and they tell you, give us feedback, and they have a feedback book, and they're telling you, tell us what you like, what you didn't like. They are collecting data. There is no sophisticated tool here. So in most cases, or in some cases, big or small companies, this is something that most people suffer from. They ask themselves, I need the budget to afford Power BI. I need the budget to afford the most high-end CRM, such as Salesforce, that can give me, let's say, the kind of reports that I want. And that's not the case. When you ask yourself the questions, and you start now fetching or start asking yourself, where can I even start? It can even be as simple as a manual record inside a book. That could be the starting point for whatever type of data you're trying to collect. The next thing you can even do is you use something as simple as spreadsheets. Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel can do a lot, can really do a lot. So let's actually explore this further. So in most cases, as I was saying, Tableau, Power BI, good tools for data analytics, very nice tools for understanding where your business is. But again, also those tools also rely on the entry of data. So they also rely in most cases on some sort of specialized skills. But almost everyone has access to either Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. And some of the ways we've been helping companies work with these tools in the simplest of ways is via just a simple spreadsheet, like what you're seeing right now on the screen. So on one end, we would have, let's say, a list, some records. We would have some records, and these just arbitrary records. Let's say I own a shop that sells men's clothes. So there's a guy called Brian who came in. He bought shoes. He also bought a polo T-shirt or some T-shirts, and I recorded the two sales that he made. So with simple formulas or with simple connections, you can be able to connect and see within January. Let's say now we have the date which is plugged in there. So within January, I can come and create a formula. We might not be able to have the time to go into the details of the formula, and create a formula, by the way, which most of these formulas are available online. And when you look at uh, the docs or the guides for either Excel or Google Sheets, you will find them. Most of these formulas are available. So you'd find this one is telling us between the source is a certain name and the type is new business. And we are able now to get, oh, we have acquired these number of customers, and the number will be able to be put there based on the formula. So something as simple as spreadsheets and Excel is giving us insights that we can be able to find out how our business is performing. And we don't need to overthink it. We can start even with a simple list of these are the sales that are happening on the daily basis, and these are the sales that have been put on a spreadsheet and further analyzed into a table, into a graph, into whatever format that we wish or that we want. And that is a very simple entry level way of thinking about how sales can happen. So moving further, I've just shown the example right now, but just going back to our point. The tools are important. The tools are good, but the tools are only an enabler. They are not an obstacle for you to look at your numbers. You can start with a spreadsheet. You can start with Excel, and in the future, uh, work towards gaining the tools. And if you have the tools, ask yourself your questions first, even before you go into the tools, and study what type of reports you need to develop before you actually do anything beyond that. Then number three, make data analytics in business a habit. It's not it's not enough to look at the data just once when there is a crisis, as I just said earlier. What we need to do, or what we need to think about, is how can we make it periodic? How can we make it from time to time? We are looking at our numbers. We are actually looking at our numbers. The habit that we've adopted for some of our clients is the first week of the new month is data analytics week. Whenever we meet, we ask ourselves, looking back, if it's the first, let's say we had just moved into October, which was the first week in the new quarter, we ask ourselves, how has the business performed quarter to quarter? In the case where we're looking from month to month, we ask ourselves, over the past, how have we performed? Compared to last year in October, how did we perform? I know people in hospitality, tourism, these are the kind of questions they ask themselves. This season versus last season, how did we perform? And you make it a habit that you ask yourself these questions every month. How did the business perform? Have the sales increased? If yes, what did we do differently? Is there a strategy we applied? Is there a technique we applied? Is there something new we introduced to the business? It could even be something as simple as there's someone who joined the team and they are more proficient in sales, or they understand sales in a better way, and they're the ones who propelled us. That simple insight carried forward could mean a lot for the business in terms of helping us get to a different level. So it's good to make the discussions about data important at least once a month, and if possible, you can do it by the bare minimum I recommend is usually once a quarter. Then last but not number four, before we go into the next item, garbage in, garbage out. I cannot. That is something. If I were to create a wall graphic to put in a business or in our business, it would be that garbage in, garbage out. Also, by the way, if you don't record the data, if a customer reaches out and you don't record the data, the same thing applies. It's more or less you have not been able to capture the value of that record. So with respect to clean data, what I have seen in most businesses, I was actually doing some shopping in town, and most businesses, because of they want to collect payment, that's when most businesses are excited. They have M-Pesa details or M-Pesa, a way to pay via M-Pesa in whatever way. So once you key in M-Pesa, they tell you just put your first name. So when they are collecting their data, when they're analyzing the data, all they see is a name, a number, and an amount. So Brian paid 1,000. His name is Brian. He said just put one name, that is enough, and an amount. So he paid, let's say, 1,000, as I've said. So when you have that data, and let's say 1,000 or 10,000 or 500 or 50 people reach out to you within the month and they walked into your shop and they bought, you cannot be able to use that data in any other way. Yes, you can be able to use the numbers and just broadcast an SMS, but we also know there are some new rules which are coming in the space of data management and privacy that will be able to limit such things. And also, we've seen Safaricom sooner or later will be limiting, not be able to send that data. So it's very important to have clean records of the customers who are buying, of the kinds of businesses that you're getting, and put those records either in a spreadsheet or using a certain tool. If you're using QuickBooks, well and good. If you're using a CRM, well and good. Whatever tool that you're using, it's not even really about the tool. It's really about the process or the methodology that you adopt. So the way we have M-Pesa records, that in our view is very incomplete data. You can use only the numbers maybe to do some sort of remarketing, but you can't be able to offer a personalized experience to a customer and understand their needs, understand their tastes or their uniqueness. Then last but not least, just want to leave you guys with a simple way that you can do an audit for your business. You don't have to break the bank in terms of hiring a data analyst, but you can be able to ask yourself very simple, very approachable, very digestible ways of how you can do an audit and just see where your business is. So I've divided this into three main sections. So this is a simple way you can do an audit. So you have three main columns. On the first column, the thing that you will be answering is what you're doing in your business. So in this case, we've just picked an example of sales and marketing. So we can ask ourselves anything. We can ask ourselves, what are we doing in operations? Let's say we are a major retailer, or what are we doing in let's say a department, any other department you can think of. So in the case of sales and marketing, for example, I've taken the example of the hotel in the Mar in this instance. What are we doing is we are relying on an agency. So probably there is an agency somewhere in the US or in the UK, and those are the people who are giving us leads. So if that is the case, the other question, the second column, now what you need to answer, which data can guide us to make a better decision? So if we knew, if our agencies are a very key source of leads for us, I'd want to know who are the top agencies who are leading tourists to Kenya, and I'd want to propose something to them. Maybe we can get that list from the ministry. Maybe we can get that list from an online resource. But so long as we've asked ourselves the question, what data can guide us to make a better decision, we can start now thinking towards that direction. And sooner or later, you will have the answer. So even if it were the case of operations, let's say we are a major retailer, and we're asking ourselves, what are we doing in operations? And we list the various items we are doing in operations or our logistics. Then the second question would be, what data can help us make the better decision? Or we can ask ourselves, how can we be able to tell the output of a single person inside operations? Is there anything we need to do on that front to be able to improve that? Then last but not least, on the third column, what do we need to do for the future? So this is the call to action that we're giving ourselves. So in the case of the hotel in the Mara, we could be saying, let's reach out to them. Let's prepare a very nice proposal and tell them this is what we can do, or this is what we are about, or this is our uniqueness as a hotel, as a camp, as whatever it is that we are. If we take that approach, we can be able to do analysis or a simple data audit on where our business is per department, and actually have specific to-dos at the end of the day based on the data that we gather and the source of the data that we come up with. So this is something even you can take a screenshot if you wish, and take it with you and actually do the analysis. And once you start writing, the answers start coming, especially for your biashara. Then, last but not least, I'll leave you with a story. And I like telling this story a lot, especially in our trainings. And for sure, our upcoming training, this is something even I will be giving such examples. Once upon a time, there was a guy called Michael. Michael is an author of a book called The E-Myth. If you haven't read it, go read it. Inside The E-Myth, he narrates a story of a hotel that he walked into. Inside that hotel, of course, the hotel was, he explains it was well lit, the ambience was very good. And something that he noted was the time it took between him entering the hotel and him being checked into a room was about 3 minutes. So it was very quick, and he was very surprised and also very excited. So he started experiencing the hotel, and he walked into it because he realized he was on a journey, and it was almost dark, and he just wanted to relax before he goes on with his journey. So he walks into the hotel. Within a short while, he's checked in, and he starts now enjoying the facility. And he says when he was being checked in, the attendant at the reception asked him a couple of questions. And he asked him, "What kind of coffee do you like? What newspaper do you like reading? Or do you like reading newspapers? Yes, which one do you like? What do you like eating? What's your favorite meal?" He asked them several questions in terms of the ambience or the kind of room that you prefer. Do you prefer a room that is here as opposed to here? And they were able to record that data into a CRM. Then he finished his say and left. About a year later, he came back to the same hotel. And as soon as he went into the reception desk, he just gave one detail that this is my name. And as soon as he gave out his name, he noticed that they did not ask any other detail. They just wanted to confirm, "Oh, you want to be checked in? Or is the room that you recommend okay?" And he was checked in. And the experience that he had the previous year was the exact same experience that he gave. And there is a article which you can read and search. If you just search a match, a mint, a cup of coffee in the newspaper, you can read the entire story. But he was explaining how the experience was so good that he asked himself, how do these guys actually pull it off? So he went and saw the manager the next morning, a young man, and asked him, "How do you pull it off?" And he explained to him, "It's just a system. We use data, we use checklists, and we are no different from any other hotel. But the point that we are trying to drive home is, if you are a hotel and you have a competitor right next to you, but you are taking advantage of analytics, you are taking advantage of data, you might give a customer like Michael the same experience and have a very predictable kind of experience for a customer, to the point where they even develop an affection for your brand or your business." So I will the point that we are trying to emphasize is data can give your business, or data analytics in simple terms, can give your business a competitive advantage. Because how many of our businesses are selling or are offering a unique product or a monopoly? Maybe like in our market, maybe there's just a few examples such as Kenya Power and Kengen. Everyone else has a competitor. So with data, you are able to get some insights, you are able to serve customers better, you are able to make, you stop guesswork and you start actually making decisions based on numbers, based on facts, and not based on intuition. So I'll invite back the host to take over from there. Thank you so much. And I look forward to the questions that you have to ask. Then we can be able now to move forward from there and also learn from each other as we move along. So asanteni sana.
Thank you very
Francis.
much, Brian, for sharing that presentation and your insights into data analytics. A number of questions have come, but before even we go into the questions, I've seen a number of people have joined this webinar. There is Moton Saulo, who I know personally, who has attended our masterclass before. There is Faith Mushai, who is with us as well. Faith is a content creator, very good expert in Instagram content creation. I've seen Teddy Kamau. Thank you, Teddy, for joining us. I've seen a person called Real Content. That is his name or her name. Thank you very much for joining us. I've seen Glory Minor, Karibu Sana. I've seen also Hannah Ashirawi. Hannah, I'm excited to see you. And I've also seen Rikui Nderitu, who is also with us. So you can ask your questions in the chat section, and we'll read them for Brian. But there are a number of questions that have come in, Brian, which I want to ask you so that you can give your perspective around this conversation. Okay. The first question is around skill set. The person has a question that says, what skills should a data analyst have?
So my first slide was the entire bigger picture of data science, and we saw the scope of what data science has to offer. The data analytics being also very broad, similar to data science, or rather just being a subtopic inside data science is quite broad. So the first question that we need to ask ourselves is, what do you need? What exactly do you want to specialize in? In the case of analytics for business, if you want to really focus on analytics for business, spreadsheets, by the way, just starting with spreadsheets and understanding how you can analyze data with spreadsheets is your starting point. Personally, what I did when I was starting out, I made sure that I go through some courses for spreadsheets. I understand Google Sheets, I understand Excel, and I understand all those tabs that we see at the top of Excel or Google Sheets, what they are about. Once you now do that, you can now be able to graduate further into other tools such as the Tableaus of this world or the Power BIs of this world, and many, many resources are available online on the same. So it's just understanding where you want to specialize, then taking a minute to get into the principles. Then after that, now you can now understand the tools as well. But for most businesses, it's one thing to have the skill set, but also it's one thing to understand what the business needs. Combining the skills and the business needs is equally important. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Another question around tools.
Yes.
Especially on the data collection aspect. What are the best tools to use for data collection?
What I'd recommend is something that can be able to be automated. So in the case where we are talking about the digital economy, websites, web forms, those are the best ways to collect data. Even let's say from time to time, most of us will find ourselves maybe in a burial, in a wedding, and even we want to collect data. And I tell people, don't even overthink it. Use Google Forms. Simply just use Google Forms and send. You'll be able to collect the data the way you want to of the people attending, whatever it is. So there are so many tools out there for you to help you collect data, but The simplest of them is just in the format of a form. But there are other levels to it. Let's say you're working with a CRM, or you're working with an accounting management kind of software. They would also have their unique way of collecting data. But at the bare minimum, also, you can do it manually inside a spreadsheet, and you can be able also to have some sort of record of data of what's been sold or what's happening within the business, yeah, etc.
Okay, another question, and I've seen Faith also has asked us question. What are the do's and don'ts when collecting data using a Google form, especially with regards to privacy? So that's a question from Faith Mushai. What are the
That's a good
do's
question.
and don'ts when collecting data using a Google form, especially with regards to privacy?
So the do's would be very clear on what you want to do with the data. In most cases, if you're asking for someone's phone number, if you might need to go an extra step and tell them, we want your phone number because you maybe want to verify something, like what apps do as you download them. We want some sort of verification. So tell people what exactly you're doing with the data, and tell them how probably the data will be stored, accessed, processed, whatever it is that you need to tell them for their peace of mind. The don'ts would be, don't ask for too many fields. Some of the things that we do when we are collecting data, we make it as if it's a bank application form where it's like 3-4 pages. So make the form as short as possible, and ask for just the necessary things that you need to ask for. Then, of course, as you relate with the customer even more, you can be able to take it a step further and collect other items of data that you need to collect, other fields as well. You can be able to do that. Yes.
Okay, there's another question. Should I master Power BI to be effective at data analysis, or is a spreadsheet enough? I thought you have already responded to that, where
Yeah,
you say
yeah, I really responded to
you
that.
can start with a spreadsheet, Google Sheet, or Microsoft Excel, and then you can advance to more sophisticated data analysis tools like Power BI and others. Let me check. Someone says, what is your best case study on how you use data analytics to increase sales for a business?
I think I've answered that question partially in the slides. I remember the HR company. Everyone in the business was concentrated on getting more CVs. No one had actually thought about that. Where exactly do our customers come from, and how can we be able to reach out to them? Everyone in the business, from morning to evening, they're just collecting CVs, but no one had actually asked themselves, how can we market? How can we reach out to the people that that give us business, the recruiters themselves, the people who are looking for employees to hire? So once we looked at the data, once we looked at the numbers, we were able to see where the business comes from, and we were able now to tweak the website and tweak also some part of the operations to focus on handling customers, who in this case now are the recruiters. There are the multiple case studies on how data has improved how a business runs, or how a business actually even sells. Remember, most recently, I think it was last year, we were analyzing the top products with one of our clients, and we realized there's a product that is giving them 49.8% of the business. And that was just a vivid insight to tell us that this is a product that we need to concentrate on, and actually ask ourselves, how can we treat the customers and give them more specialized interest or experiences? We also ask ourselves, how can we market more this product, because it's a very popular product? So there are multiple incidences that we and also case studies that we have as businesses. Even not so long ago, a few months ago, you're looking at the data for one of our retailers, and you're looking at the data of how they sell every day of the week. And we realized after Thursday is when things peak. And you would see Thursday, Friday, all the way to Saturday. Each day the sales are increasing. So those are the days they add more, they concentrate mostly on just selling. These other days is when they can do other operational operational tasks. So there are so many examples. There are so many examples. But what I can assure everyone, once you start looking at the numbers and you make it periodic and you make it a habit, you start getting some of these insights. Even sometimes without an expert, you can now be able to tell there's something good that's happening in your business, or you can take advantage of it.
Okay, thank you for that. There's a question around data analytics and strategy. Someone is
Yes.
asking, how would you advise a business who has noticed a downward trend after running analytics? What are the best steps to take in such a case when the numbers are going down? You've done an analysis and you've noted the numbers are going down. What is the best way to react to that kind of an experience?
I know that might be looked at as a negative thing, but I also look at it from a positive light. You have analyzed and now you have noticed that the numbers are going down. If you had not analyzed, probably it's not an insight you would have known. So the second question to ask yourself is, uh, what are the things that we've been doing right now or in the recent past compared to the maybe a year ago or 2 years ago when the numbers were doing okay? Well, but it's also true to state that for most businesses within the country and globally, a lot of businesses have been affected by the global atmosphere, the global business atmosphere, with what has happened with the elections, with Russia, and many other things. But also that aside, people are still transacting. So I'd really urge such a business to look at the trends that have been happening in the recent past versus the trends that have been happening some time ago. You remember one of the clients we serviced, once we realized that they changed their business model, that's when the sales started going down. But before then, things were okay. They were doing several. They had quite some good business, but once they changed their business model, things started going down. We've also realized for some clients, let's say when they are having a shift, maybe they change a location or they change some staff. That's when things go down. So it's just analyzing and seeing this is what was happening back then, and this is what we've done, and this has been the change. But the fact that they have seen those numbers going down is something good, because now they can take action about it.
Okay, there is a question from Mr. Wallace Gitahi. How can you ensure data quality? What's the process of ensuring that you use accurate and complete data in your analytics?
Um, it's good to also ask yourself a second question when you ask that question: is what do you want the data for? Once you ask that question, you know what is the priority. So, for example, I want this data mostly for the purposes of remarketing. So when I'm collecting the data, I will set a standard that I need the email address, I need the phone number, I need the name at the bare minimum, so that I'm able to reach out back to this customer via SMS, via email, via call. Once you lock down on this is how I want to use the data, this is the purpose of the data, the entry becomes a very easier question to handle, because you know these are the fields which are the most important. These are the things I need to collect. But in some cases, if you're just collecting data for the purpose of collecting data, or the employees or the clerks who are entering the data don't understand the reason behind entering the data, they might not really do the best job. So it's asking yourself, or uh, telling the people who are entering the data, the purpose of the data is A, B, C, and D, and these are the most important fields. excuse me. In the case of the example I've given about the hotel, the Venezia Hotel, you will see they were collecting the data for the purposes of giving a specialized customer experience over and over again. So they would ask specific questions based on that fact that they want to give you a specialized experience. So, what newspaper do you love reading? What cup of coffee or what beverage do you love drinking? What type of room do you prefer? So they collect such items of data. Yes.
Okay, I think I've also seen a comment by Pauline Mwangi who says, "I'm loving the conversation. It's a powerful, Excel is a powerful tool, but we hardly use even 90% of it. It would be worth for Digital for Africa to run an Excel masterclass." That's a comment from Pauline. It's not a question. So let me read more questions on. Here's a question on training. Does your company provide data analytics training for anyone interested in learning?
Yes, we do provide training. We have the inaugural cohort early next year, and registrations have already started. So if you go to digitalforafrica.com/DAM, standing for Data Analytics Masterclass/DAM, you'll be able to find more information about the class. And once you leave your details there, we can be able to reach out to you. So it will be a 4-day learning experience, and by the way, we'll be going through some of these tools like Excel, for instance, so that people are able to take advantage of them in their various fields of work. Over the weekend, I was doing a training in Mombasa, and through the interacted with some of the people who are exporting tea at the port, and I realized that from morning to evening, what the senior managers do is they just spend time on Excel. So they were asking questions like, how do we connect one table to another? How do we connect one sheet to another? How can we be able to create the relationships? Questions which are very important for a senior manager, also to be able to make life a bit easier. And these are the things we'll be handling in our training. And by the way, if you're not interested in data analytics in its entirety, you're just going into the nitty-gritties of data analytics, we also have a masterclass in November between the 3rd and the 4th. And part of the topics that we talk about is data analytics. We have a 2.5-hour session on data analytics on the same, so that people can start thinking about data analytics in their businesses. So I'd recommend, if you haven't come to our masterclass, come and see some of the topics we talk about. Data analytics is just one of them. We talk about strategy, we talk about content, and many other things. But I'm really excited for the class that we'll be having next in a few months.
Okay, I think Faith also has asked whether the class is virtual or in person. The truth is, Faith, we do provide in-person classes and online classes. So it depends on the one that you prefer. Every month, we normally have a masterclass, the combined masterclass that looks at all these topics that Brian is talking about. But we have a specific masterclass for data analytics. We also actually providing training specifically on web design course. We finished a web design course very recently. It was a very exciting experience. Training people, empowering business owners, or even web designers in Kenya to know how to build websites that can drive more sales to their business. So web design training, data analytics training, or generally the combined masterclass. Those are classes that you can benefit once you join us, and the experiences are online and also in person. There's another question, Brian, that I really wanted you to talk about around what is the value of ensuring you have multiple sources of data when you're doing data analysis? Because there are times you realize someone is relying on a very narrow way of looking at a customer, instead of looking at a customer holistically, relying on different channels, Facebook, Instagram, email, SMS, HubSpot or Odoo or whatever, maybe even QuickBooks. What's the value of ensuring you have a 360 view of a customer so that you have a better way of making a decision? What's the value of that?
There is a perspective that is gained with each way you look at the data, or each way you look at when you look at things using different lenses, you are able to capture things that, or probably insights that will not have captured elsewhere. And the value really is drawn from being able to gain even more insights. So in the case where you're looking at data from a CRM, HubSpot, for instance, HubSpot might be very particular about customer records. But if you wanted to really analyze your accounting numbers or your sales, accounting software would be more better placed. So getting that perspective of looking, oh, by the way, there's this tool which does a specific item, but there's also this other dimension. We can look at it and be able to gain probably different insights. A good example also is a tool such as Google Analytics. Google Analytics is among the most popular tools for understanding the analytics for your website. If you are to look at Google Analytics individually and not look at any other source of how you are being able to acquire customers, Google Analytics might not be a true picture or a full picture of how your business is performing. It will only tell you where customers are going, what customers are doing when they interact with your website, but it doesn't tell you who has bought what. Yes, it can tell you if you do the connections, fine, but it has a very narrow view of how your business is just from the basis of the website. And we've come across businesses where they are getting more sales from just Google My Business. And that's the main way the business interacts with customers, and they still convert. Other businesses are making a lot. They're actually getting a lot of sales from social, and that's how they make their bread and butter. So it gives you a better perspective to how you can be able to gain insights and also answer some of the questions that you have.
Yes, and there was this case study, Brian, maybe you should have talked about. We started integrating the QuickBooks for one of our clients and HubSpot, so that
Yes.
they are talking to each other, because you may realize the data within HubSpot is related to the sales pipeline. You can see the value of the deal. You can see, where the customer came from, the website or from social or Instagram, but you are not seeing the transactional data, which if you look at another tool like QuickBooks and integrate them. So here is the conversation around data integration or integration of tools so that the tools are talking to each other. I know, for example, HubSpot can integrate Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and Twitter, or any other channel, so that you have a better view of your business. Maybe you can talk around about that, the data integration, which is a very key aspect of having a 360 view of a customer.
Thank you, Francis. You brought that up, and it's very important, especially at this time and age. Till today, we've never found one tool that does everything. We keep on looking for that tool, and we have never found it. Even if you are the biggest of companies, you would still find yourself you are relying on different tools for different things. So most recently, we were helping a customer integrate between QuickBooks and HubSpot. And before we started the integration, we realized the data was very incomplete. Some of the fields were put together, such as the phone number and the name. And the reason why they were doing that was mostly because the focus was, we need a receipt. inside QuickBooks. So you put the name, you put the number, and you print the receipt, and it's able now to give the receipt according to the way the business wanted it. But the data could not be used inside HubSpot in whatever way because it was incomplete and also it was unclean. Another example, the one which I've come across several times, is using MailChimp. Before most customers or most companies take advantage of the CRMs or the inbuilt capabilities of email marketing inside CRMs, they rely on MailChimp. So you find the integration or the exporting of data between one tool and another. You export the data and you find emails have been combined because a customer had 2-3 emails. They've been put together as one email, so you can't even be able to do much more. The same thing with phone numbers. A company now wants to embark on SMS marketing. They realize, oh, we've never collected the number, or the number was attached to a name, or the number, some of them had 723 instead of 0723. So the tool is not really sure on how to work with that. And especially when the records are very many, if you're dealing with thousands and thousands of customers, it becomes a nightmare to do these things. So it's very important to make the entry level very accurate, and also never to leave out anything to the unknown. And what we realized, by the way, in the case of HubSpot into QuickBooks integration, was there was just something very small that they just needed to be enabled with on how to enter the data. And that's where now companies like us come in. Something they just needed to be enabled in terms of entering the data, knowing where to put that data for our customer and taking advantage of that. And once that was done, they started now doing the right thing, and so far so good.
Okay, I want also to acknowledge some comments. I've seen Mr. Miner saying thank you, Brian and Francis, for always empowering us with practical insights. I'm always indebted to you. I can attest that analytics works. Thank you very much, Mr. Miner. I've also seen Patricia saying she appreciates what we are doing. Thank you, Patricia. You've said you are happy to learn. Karibu sana, you're most welcome. If there are no questions, Brian, do you have any what is your final message to the people who have joined us today?
Let me take it home. I know we are in business and talking about business, but let me also take it home and talk about maybe something like our personal expenses. I know data analytics is a topic that we care for more in business, but also think about it from the perspective of, I am a family man or I'm a family lady, and I have expenses that I need to meet or bills that I need to meet every month. My personal experience has been just applying these skills that we have inside data analytics and asking myself, how much did I spend on transport? How much did I spend on these other items? And I record it into a spreadsheet. I am able to track and know where my money is going, and I'm able to take I'm able actually to do something about it. So data analytics is not something that we should apply just in one narrow point of view inside life. We can think about it from a general perspective. Even looking at fitness, you can analyze the exercise that you're putting in and the output that you're getting in terms of how you feel and how your body feels. And also maybe if you plan on gaining muscle or losing weight or whatever, you can also be able to analyze that. So there are so many ways we can apply data analytics in our life. And once you start thinking about analytics from a numbers perspective, or all aspects of life from a numbers perspective, where you input something and what is the expected output, you will get some results wholesomely in your life, including business.
Thank you very much. I would like to read a comment from Mr. John Gitao, who works for a multinational. He says he relies on Google Sheets and Excel. They are very powerful tools for data analytics. I do analytics for one of the multinational in the country, and he says he relies on Google Sheet and Excel. So thank you very much, Mr. John Gitao. Just as we wind up, I would encourage us to, if you're interested in the data analytics class, I've shared a link around, a link that can guide you on where you can find more information about the type of training that we provide on data analytics. I think I can share it again. The URL that Brian earlier talked about. Data Analytics Masterclass, which we are currently providing. I'll share the link again, so that in case anyone is interested, they can join us. But also, I've also shared a link, or you can also check our website for more trainings and more services. We provide not just training, but also services. We build websites, we provide support around data and data strategy. And if you are interested, reach out to us and we can be able to support you. So I think we'll end up at that point because I can't see more questions. I've finished the questions that had come ahead of time. I want to take this opportunity to appreciate every one of us here who has joined us. We will be doing these webinars regularly, at least once a month. We have a webinar around an important area about business, strategy, marketing, content creation, analytics, media buying, all aspects of digital marketing. I've seen also a comment from Rosalind Miner. Rosalind Miner is the head of e-commerce at Jay's Wine. She says, Francis and Brian have helped us tap into our huge data and manage to drive sales and improve the customer experience. I think we have invested a lot and we are very happy about what Rosalind is doing with data and analytics at Jay's Wines as one of our best case studies. So thank you very much. I take this opportunity to wish you good evening, good night, wherever you are, and let's meet each other and chat and interact on social media platforms. Thank you very much, and bye, and see you in the next month. Also, I saw a comment from BAM Tours, Francis, BAM Tours. That was a great lesson. He's saying good job to Digital for Africa. So thank you very much, everyone. See you on social. Let's continue doing business and interacting. Thank you.